Morning, class. Well, it's nearly noon when I'm doing this. It's time to jump into Unit 6. And as we wind up this year, I want to encourage you to keep pressing on and keep doing your best. Hang in there. Soon we'll be done with virtual school, online school, this distance learning that we're being forced to do. And Lord willing, we'll be able to be back in class next September. So hang in there. I want to encourage you to do that, to persevere. Perseverance is not easy, but it's a very valuable character trait that we will need throughout life. So persevere, hang in there, keep doing your work, keep doing your best, and soon this will be past and beyond us. So we're on to Unit 6, the introduction, some introductory notes as we jump into this book of 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians, and the title for this section 1 is, or for 1 Corinthians, is Living Out the Love of Christ. Living Out the Love of Christ. If you know anything about 1 Corinthians, that's where you find the love chapter, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, which a lot of people have read at their wedding ceremony. And we'll eventually get to that, but that's not going to be covered here at the very beginning. Now, it was on Paul's second missionary journey that he stopped in Corinth. On his second missionary journey that he stopped in this city, and he stayed for approximately 18 months. So it was one of his longer stays, if not his longest, and it was roughly during the years AD 50 to 52 that he stopped in Corinth for approximately a year and a half, or 18 months. Now, Corinth was a chief city in the province of Achaia. It was a cultural center. It was a trade center. It was a prosperous city, and it was because it had to do a lot with where it was located. It was located near some trade routes, so ship and land routes were stopping by there, and so that made it a very prosperous city. It made a big cultural hub, a trade center. Trade was going in and out. So if trade was going on, there was a lot of money. So a lot of money in and out of the city. It was a very prosperous city. But with a lot of cities like that, it had a bad reputation. And that's saying a lot for Greek culture, because Greek culture was pretty lax, pretty loose, pretty immoral. A lot of things going on there that you would want to be shielded from, that your parents would probably shield your eyes from and your ears from. But Corinth had a bad reputation. It was known for its sensual self-indulgence. Sensual self-indulgence. Sort of like maybe what we think of when we think of Las Vegas. And I hate those ads that say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It sort of makes me sick to my stomach because a lot of immoral activities going on there, and I just can't. I don't even. Paul even said, don't even think about. Don't even talk about the things that they're doing in secret. But it was had a bad reputation, sensual self-indulgence, and the rest of the Greek culture even it was so bad that the Greeks even had an expression for it. To live as a Corinthian, or to be Corinthianized, was an expression of an immoral life. So the rest of the Greek cities and the Greek citizens would look at Corinth, and even they were shocked by the stuff that went on there. So to live as a Corinthian or to Corinthianize was an expression of an immoral life, and it was a negative term. Now, converted pagans, converted Gentiles, non-Jews made up a majority of the church in Corinth. And because it was a big city, it's a prosperous city, the people there that were being converted, they were gifted people, but they were problematic. The church in Corinth was very gifted. Lots of capable people there, but they had a lot of problems. And they had troubles, and they had issues. I have issues. Everybody has issues, but the church in Corinth had a lot of issues. And you'll see that Paul had to write letters to them to deal with some of these issues that were going on there. Now, during his third missionary journey, Paul heard of these issues. He heard of the divisions and the quarrels that were going on there, and so Paul wrote 1 Corinthians in response to that troubling news that he heard about the divisions and the quarrels. So he was trying to set things right by writing, put things back in order by writing this first letter. He mentioned some key doctrinal issues. There are key doctrinal perspectives that he addresses here in 1 Corinthians, but at the same time, it was a very practical and relevant letter to deal with those things that the Corinthians were dealing with, and it's practical and relevant for days like ours. So that's some introductory notes about 1 Corinthians, about the city of Corinth, why Paul wrote it, when he wrote it, and some background information on stuff like that. So when you're done watching this one, get ready to watch the actual video lesson on 6.1, and until then, peace.